Have you ever wondered how some animals defy the odds and refuse to give up on life, even when it seems like everything is against them? Take Nefes, for example. He was a small terrier thrown into the streets of Areli, alone and suffering. His body was weak, his fur falling out in patches, and his spirit shattered. Many would have thought it was too late for him, but that's not how the story ends. Hi, everyone. Today, I'm going to share with you the incredible journey of Nefes, a dog who fought against all odds to survive. Join us here on Pets in Love as we follow this inspiring story of resilience and hope. In the heart of Areli, a small village nestled in the Turkish province of Zonguldak, a fragile life was thrown into the dirt, abandoned without mercy. A small terrier, so weak it seemed like a ghost of a dog, its fur falling out in patches, was left to suffer. The villagers were aware of the dog's presence, but few offered a second glance. It was just another animal in a land full of suffering creatures, discarded like a broken toy. But then, a voice cried out. Seda Merkan, a volunteer with a heart too big for her own good, heard the cry. She was used to the heartbreak of rescuing animals in need. But this one, this tiny creature, seemed different. 2 days had passed since the first report, but Seda had been busy tending to other cases, her plate always full. Yet no matter how many calls for help came, her heart never turned cold. She couldn't ignore this one. This was a call for help that reached her very soul. The situation was dire. The dog, whom Seda would later name Nefes, meaning breath, was covered in open wounds, its body racked with disease. The drive to the clinic felt like an eternity for Seda. She cradled Nefes gently in her arms, the small terrier trembling uncontrollably. When they finally arrived at the veterinary clinic, Seda rushed out of the car, her heart pounding in her chest. She had seen suffering before, so many times before, but this was different. Nefes wasn't just a case. He was a tiny soul, barely clinging to life, and Seda's heart ached for him. She carried him through the clinic doors, her mind racing through the many possibilities of what could be wrong. The vet, Dr. Ilem, met them at the door. Her face softened when she saw Nefes, but it was clear she knew this was going to be a tough case. She motioned to a clean examination table and carefully placed Nefes down, making sure he felt as comfortable as possible despite his fear. Let's see what we're working with, Dr. Ilem said softly, trying to calm the frightened dog. She gently ran her hands over Nefes's body, her fingers tracing the deep scars and inflamed patches of skin. He winced at the touch, but he didn't bark or snap. He was too weak to do anything but tremble. Seda stood back, anxiety flooding her. She knew how serious the situation was. Nefes's condition seemed overwhelming, but there was no time to hesitate. The vet quickly began the examination. She took a blood sample, carefully examining his frail veins before drawing a small vial of blood. It was a painful process for Nefes, but Seda was right beside him, softly murmuring reassurances as the vet worked. After what felt like hours, Dr. Ilem finished the initial checkup. She looked at Seda, her face somber. We'll need to run a series of tests, she said. From the condition of his skin and the infections in his wounds, I suspect he has several blood parasite diseases. We'll test for anaplasma, babesia, and leishmania, as well as check for other infections. His body is in a state of extreme infection, and he may have some internal damage as well. Seda nodded, her heart sinking. She knew the costs of these tests and the financial burden it would place on her, but there was no other option. She had promised Nefes that she would do everything in her power to help him. As Nefes was taken into the back room for further diagnostics, Seda sat in the waiting area, her hands clasped tightly together. She couldn't stop thinking about his tiny, trembling body and the pain he had endured. How had he ended up like this? Abandoned in a small village? Thrown away like a piece of trash? Seda couldn't bear the thought of all the other animals suffering in silence, unnoticed and unloved. The hours stretched on, and finally Dr. Ilem returned. The results were in. Seda's worst fears had been confirmed. Nefes had multiple infections, and the blood parasites were wreaking havoc on his body. His immune system was weak, and his body was fighting a battle it couldn't win without help. Nefes has anaplasma, babesia, and leishmania. These are all serious conditions, Dr. Ailem explained, looking at Seda with concern. We need to start him on a course of antibiotics immediately. His immune system is already compromised, and we'll have to treat the infections aggressively. He'll also need blood transfusions and other medications to stabilize him. Seda felt a wave of both relief and dread. Relief that they now had a clear diagnosis, but dread at the long and expensive road ahead. How much will it cost? Seda asked, knowing she was already stretched thin. Dr. Ailem paused before answering. The initial treatment plan, including medications, is going to be around 1,600 Turkish lira a day. We'll also need to do a full course of baths for his skin infections, which will cost an additional 2,000 Turkish lira. His recovery will take at least 2 months of intensive care. It's going to be a long road, but we can help him. Seda took a deep breath. The weight of the situation was suffocating, but she knew she couldn't give up on Nefes now. He was no longer just a stray dog. He was a life worth saving. I'll do whatever it takes, Seda said, her voice firm but filled with emotion. He deserves a chance. Dr. Ailem nodded. I'll get started on his treatment right away. We'll give him the best care possible. As Nefes was taken into the back for his first round of treatments, Seda sat in the waiting area, her mind racing. This wasn't just about money. It was about giving a voice to those who had none, about showing the world that every life mattered, no matter how small, no matter how broken. Seda shared the story of Nefes on social media, hoping that someone, anyone, would offer help. We can save this child together, she wrote, not knowing if anyone would respond. It was a message of desperation, but also of hope. In a world where too many people turned a blind eye to the suffering of animals, Seda refused to let this dog slip through the cracks. The cry for help was loud, but the silence of indifference often felt deafening. Only 2 people responded initially. Some, instead of offering support, criticized Seda for not doing more. Yet, Seda's determination didn't waver. She found comfort in the small gestures of kindness that came from strangers who saw the value in saving a life. Nefes was in critical condition, but the love and support that began to pour in from those who believed in Seda's mission gave her the strength to carry on. Slowly, Nefes began to heal. The infections that ravaged his body started to subside. The treatments began to show results. And with each passing day, the fear in Nefes's eyes started to fade, replaced by the cautious curiosity of a dog rediscovering the world. As the days turned into weeks, Nefes's transformation was nothing short of miraculous. The small dog that had once been a trembling, sickly shell of an animal was now wagging its tail, playing with joy, and smiling for the first time in what seemed like forever. But the journey wasn't over. Nefes still needed more care, more time to heal. 2 months of treatment awaited him, but with each day, the cost of care weighed heavily on Seda's shoulders. But she wasn't alone anymore. Thanks to the support of people who believed in her cause, Nefes's journey continued. Donations flooded in, and those who once criticized now stood beside her, helping shoulder the burden. And then, there was the miracle that Seda had always hoped for. Nefes found a new home, a place where he could feel safe, loved, and cared for, just as every animal deserves. The healing process, both physical and emotional, was long, but Seda knew that she had done all she could to help this little soul. And in the end, that was enough. As Seda sat quietly, watching Nefes run and play in his new home, she knew that even though she couldn't save every animal, she had saved this one. And in that, she found peace. In a world filled with suffering and cruelty, the simple act of saving one life made all the difference. It was a testament to the power of kindness, compassion, and the unwavering belief that no animal should be abandoned to die alone. Nefes before and after he is smiling now. He is playing and very happy. That's the end of the story today. Nefes is just one of many. There are countless other animals abandoned and in need of help, waiting for someone to stand up for them. That's where we come in. Whether it's offering financial support, spreading awareness, or simply showing kindness, every little bit counts. Will you be the one to make a difference today? Will you stand alongside rescuers like Sita, who fight tirelessly for those who cannot speak for themselves? Don't hesitate to give your opinion in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching to the end. If you find our video interesting, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with others. Finally, don't forget to turn on our bell and subscribe to our channel Pets in Love so you don't miss any of our new videos. Thank you for your support and see you next time.